I'm David Sumner. I have the privilege of being married to Miss Doris, and she's the one that does most of the podcast. But we are also doing another podcast channel, which is called According to Esther. And we study in some detail the book of Esther in the Old Testament. And therein is the story that I bring to you today. The king is a madman. Ahasuerus is his title, but not name. So no one can really understand what king of Persia is the king of the book of Esther. However, our best guess is Xerxes. The book opens with a set of banquets. These are shows of the king's power and wealth. The first banquet is the king's banquet and is impressive in its lavishness. It is intended to demonstrate how great and rich Ahasuerus is. Near the end of the banquet, the king orders his queen to come before the guests and display her royal beauty. Queen Vashti was noted for her form and facial beauty. She refuses to come, and the king, after consultation with his advisors, banishes her from his presence and her position. If our guess about the king's identity is correct, sometime during the time frame of the book of Esther, not mentioned in the book, the king goes off to war with Greece. This banquet could then be interpreted as the welcoming the gathering armies that are going to go with him to fight Greece. Xerxes fought against Greece in a war that is well chronicled in history. He comes close to defeating the Greeks, but in a naval battle, his larger and more powerful ships were lured into the narrow rocky inlets. On the banks of these inlets are Greek archers. And once in the narrow waters, the advantage of the larger ship becomes a disadvantage. The Greeks win, and in large part because of the naval battle, they win the war. The personality of the king is demonstrated in the following incident. The king ordered a pontoon bridge to be built across one of the inlets. The water was very rough, and the pontoon bridge broke up. The king ordered the head engineer executed and ordered that his soldiers lash the water. Another insight to the king is the inscription over his gate, "I am Xerxes, the great king, the king of all the countries that speak all kinds of languages, the king of the entire far-reaching earth." Two things stand out about the king. First, he's ruled by his emotions. He reacts in anger frequently, and his ego has no bounds. Esther, on the other hand, is living a quiet life in the house of her cousin and adopted father, Mordecai, without being asked for her preferences or considered. She is jerked out of a comfortable setting and corralled into a bunch of women to be sent into the king so he can rape her. She has high probability she will never see her family again. And if by some extraordinary piece of luck she is chosen, she gets to be the wife of this angry egomaniac. Boy, does that look good. No, it looks bad. But hang on, it's going to get worse. She is chosen. Once taken into the palace, it's against the law for a man to be with Esther. Violation of the law is punishable by death. Mordecai shows his love by waiting in the palace gate. The fact that he waited at the gate indicates that he had gained some political influence, because only those who had political influence were allowed to linger at the gate. While on watch at the gate, Mordecai learned about a conspiracy to kill the king. He tells Esther through a messenger, and Esther tells the king, who gives credit to Mordecai. The king is investigating. The king has it investigated and finds that it is true. He has the 2 chamber guards executed, but nothing is done to honor Mordecai. However, this deed is written in the chronicles of the kingdom. A man named Haman gains the attention of the king and rises to the position of prime minister. Haman is an Agagite, a race who has a long history of war and hatred towards the Jews. The king orders that everyone bow to Haman, but Mordecai does not bow. This is pointed out to Haman, and Haman is told that Mordecai is a Jew. And in anger, Haman consults diviners, and they cast lots to determine the best time to kill all the Jews in the kingdom. Haman bribes the king into signing an edict to kill all the Jews on the assigned day, which is about 10 or 11 months away. This edict, signed and sent out on the eve of the Jewish Passover, their celebration of deliverance. The result of the edict and its timing caused great confusion and fear among all the Jews in the nation. Mordecai mourns in sackcloth and ashes just outside the palace gate. It is against the rule, against the law, to mourn in the gate. Esther hears of it and sends him clothes, which he refuses, and he sent them back a copy of the edict, the exact amount of the bribe, and also asked her to go into the king and beg for the life of the Jews. She responds that she has not been called to the king for 30 days, and if anyone enters the king's presence without an invitation, they must be killed, unless the king grants them mercy by holding out the scepter to them. Esther has been so protected in the palace that she did not even know about the edict. Mordecai's answer to her is in 3 parts. 1, the palace will not protect you any more than any of the other Jews. 2, God will provide deliverance for the Jews even if you don't do your part, but you and your father's house will die. 3, who knows but what you came into your place in the kingdom for such a time as this? Esther asks all the Jews to do a 3-day fast, after which she goes in before the king, and if I perish, I perish. A dramatic transformation has occurred in Esther. Prior to the answer from Mordecai, every action and response of Esther has been in the passive mood. Mordecai's answer jerks her out of her protected passive world, showing her that she is not the center of the world, but rather a part of a larger story. Indeed, that may well be the primary message for Esther for us. Is it possible that Esther is not so much a story as it is an example for our lives? Is it possible that we are part of a divine fairy tale? I had it so good. Then the curse came through a snake, and I was separated from our lover. But the great prince shows up, releases us from the curse, and draws us to him to live happily ever after. Indeed, we are part of a larger story. Do you, like Esther, need to be jerked out of your comfortable, self-centered world and be made to realize we are here just as part of the divine history to the place and the part that He assigns to us. Maybe how comfortable I am and how much I have really isn't that important after all. Thank you for your wisdom, Lord, and thank you for your revelation. Maybe we have the evaluation of ourselves that you have. So be it. Amen.